Coming up on the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show, it's Grand Final week. Well, it's Wednesday, so I've got 5 days till the game, but Phil is coming home from Poland, baby, so we've got him on nice and early. Unders looks the play this weekend.
Unders indeed. There's no two ways about that. It's just which way this result leans. And without giving too much away, listeners and viewers out there, Phil and Al don't agree. What's new? What's new? Right. And I promise you, we didn't colour coordinate with Joe either.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, I've been on 3 shows today, so this is the third of 3, but it's the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show. Check it out because the Grand Final preview starts right now. Welcome to the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show. We've finally made it. It is Grand Final week in the National Rugby League for 2023. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly. I am joined, as always, by Phil Pryor. He is ducked over to Brighton and back to Poland in the last few days. He has been drinking tins all through Europe, but he's here for us to preview the National Rugby League Grand Final. Phil, first of all, how was the Amex Stadium?
Oh, mate, yeah, still buzzing after that weekend. It was truly something. Now I'm big on Brighton Twitter as well. Things are just going swimmingly over here. I'm just about out of gas. I'm ready to get home, and I'll be landing on Sunday just in time for a few grand finals.
The man has more gigs than Jason Richardson, ladies and gentlemen. He's picked up a little side podcast gig here and there as well. He's absolutely flying. But anyway, we are here for the NRL Grand Final, and fittingly, the 2 best teams have made the Grand Final this year. Both teams come into this with 20-6 records. They've been on top all year, the Penrith Panthers and the Brisbane Broncos, and the market is as follows. The Panthers are $1.65, the Brisbane Broncos $2.50. The line -3.5, +3.5, and the over-under is 37.5. Now, for the grand final, you can read all of Phil's write-ups and a bit of stuff Stats Guy's done at codebet.com.au. Go check out the website. There is an absolute mountain of stuff for both grand finals this weekend. A lot of good stuff going in there, so go check out the website. But Phil, for this grand final, we'll break it down a little bit differently than what the 3 of us will do in the AFL show. Let's go have a look at the 2 teams and give sort of reasons as to why we think both teams can win the grand final. And then at the end, we'll have a summary and sort of a chat about who will win and why. Well, who we hope will win, given it's a gambling show. So let's start off with the Panthers. Obviously, going for 3 in a row. This is their 4th grand final in a row as well. It's a pretty simple thing of they know what to do on this day. I struggle to see them getting beaten by the Broncos. I think through the park, they are just too strong, and recent history suggests they are, having won 5 of the last 6 against the Broncos.
Wow. Okay. Straight into it. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I just wanted to sort of just say on a more general note first. Yeah. Like I'm stoked that it's these 2 sides because they were clearly the 2 better teams all year, and that's generally what I'm rooting for as a neutral when we get to this time of year. Quite often, if you see one of those rogue teams go through to the GF, they get absolutely pummeled by the better team in the final. So I'm very glad to see that it's kind of landed this particular way. You mentioned the sort of the recent history being on Penrith's side, and that's all good and well, but honestly, that the matchup that I think you have to pay the closest attention to in recent memory is round 1 in Penrith. Brisbane went down there and shocked them. They won 13 points to 12. And that was really the start of something that we didn't know would go this well this season. But, you know, they announced to the competition right then and there that they've taken a huge step forward this season. And I think that contest is the more telling data point we have, particularly this year, because they met again in round 12 at Accor Stadium on the eve of the Origin interruption. Penrith won 15 points to 4 there, but in that game there was no Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Adam Reynolds is definitely playing in this one. And, I mean, he's obviously crucial to how, to Brisbane, how they play. He steers them around the park. He's that veteran presence. He's obviously going to be even more important to the group this week because he's been there and he's done it 9 years ago with the Rabbitohs, of course. And even though the Broncos across our lifetime have been to so many of these big games and grand finals, they haven't. This group of players,
Yeah, this group's new.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them with that experience. So Reynolds is going to be crucial to how they go about it. But as far as the Panthers are concerned, look, I would just be fascinated to know how the playing group and the staff are sort of dealing with the pressure of having that weight of pressure on their shoulders of doing what no rugby league team have done for 40 years, winning a third straight. You have to go back to Parramatta of the early 1980s, 81 to 83, where you've seen a side win 3 consecutive premierships. And this group knows that they know what's at stake. Yes, they've been there. This is their 4th straight NRL Grand Final, but I would just love to know how much that's weighing on them because that has to be a factor heading into this game. I'd love your thoughts on that before we dive any deeper.
Just for me, I just think it's they expect to be here. So you treat it as just any other game. And it's like you look recent history in the AFL, Hawthorn did the three-peat, and that wasn't unexpected given how dominant they were over those 3 seasons. You got to the grand finals, like, oh yeah, Hawthorn, that makes sense. So I don't really think that for Panthers, obviously there's going to be the perceived pressure, but we don't know what's going in with the group. Like obviously, yeah, it's a grand final and the pressure's on to win, but the fact that this is their 4th one and pretty much most of this squad has done it all together, like, yeah, it's just the boys having a bit of fun out on the football field. Just this time there's going to be 80,000 people at Accor Stadium. But you note of last week, obviously no changes to either team as expected. They both go in with the same 17 and, of course, typical Queensland with news of a potential injury coming out on a Monday that was quickly debunked. That's not like a state of origin play or whatsoever for anyone who's followed a rugby league. But my concern is that Brisbane will get there and it may get to them and they just sort of freeze up. That's the way I see sort of this game being won, is that composure in the first 20 minutes. That's where it can be won and lost. Yeah,
interesting. I suppose bringing it back to the Hawthorn comparison just quickly, that there are in a rugby league game there are less moments, there are less actions, and sort of so each one of those can swing the result more easily. I feel, some of those Hawthorn grand final wins were hugely one-sided games. And anyway, I take your point. I have too much respect for both of these teams to think that it's going to blow out one way or the other. If you combined both of their matchups this season and combined all of those points, you only just get into the overs.
Yeah.
It was 15-4 and it was 13-12. I can't see this one hitting the over. There's been early money for the over as well. You listed 37.5.
Yeah.
Just before. It's actually blown out to 38.5. So there was a lot of money. There was a lot of early money for the overs, and I was thinking, you beauty, I'm going to wait for this to get to 38.5. Maybe even it gets to 39.5 because you've got a lot more casuals having a chip this week. And the more casuals want to see a fast, free-flowing game, lots of points.
Well, and they'll see that both teams put over 30 points on their opposition last week as well and think that that's the kind of game that they're going to get.
Yeah. So I'm waiting to put any bets on until, about 5 or 6 o'clock Sunday evening. I'm hoping it gets to 39 points and 39.5, and I'm taking the unders comfortably there, just because I have too much respect for each of these two teams. It goes against what we punted on last week. A quick victory lap. I took the overs in both of those games, and I took the favourites to cover. And I don't get it. I don't get it all right, but I got those two right last week. So yeah, I think this one's playing out to a different script this week. I think it stays reasonably close. Why will the Panthers win? I think we know why, because they've done it 2 years in a row. They have looked just far superior to everything and everyone that they've come across this September already. Way too good for the Warriors. Comfortably too strong for a somewhat dismantled Melbourne Storm outfit last week. They've been there before. They're the home side effectively. They played last week at Accor Stadium. They're back there 9 days later. It just kind of sets up perfectly for the Panthers. They've had that extra day rest, so it will be the Broncos coming into this one with the rest deficit, obviously. They know Accor Stadium like the back of their hand. They're pretty much at full strength. They haven't had any injury interruptions once again. We mentioned, I think I referenced the name Tyrone May last week, and apologies to those that pulled me up. Taylor May, of course, he's been the only injury this year, and it was an ACL back in the preseason. Yeah. Aside from that, you look at their list and it's pretty much 1 to 17 on paper, what you'd expect. So once again, Penrith have had incredible injury luck in a rugby league season. It's not just luck. I'm sure if you asked NRL physio and a bunch of other Twitter doctors, they do a lot of things right. Ivan Cleary does a fantastic job of resting his star players through the season. He's earned that right because he has this team firing on all cylinders, and the club has earned that right because they've got incredible depth. So it's not a complete and utter fluke that this happens, but there is some luck along the way. Obviously, Jerome Luai is not going to be at full strength, and Isaac Tungor, he's probably the weak link defensively for this team. We saw Justin Olam absolutely stand him up. I've got no idea why he was playing right centre coming back from that pec injury when for the last 2 seasons he's been basically purely a left centre. And I can't see them flipping that at this point, given that Stephen Crichton's played so much at right centre, and he's only started to move to that left centre position in the last kind of 6 to 8 weeks because of injury interruptions. So that's where I think Brisbane are going to try and send some traffic down Brisbane's left attack to the Panthers' right defence with Isaac Tungo. If he's going to look that shaky coming back from that injury last week, he just looked like a player short on confidence in his body and just short on timing as well. He got that one horribly wrong. So that's where the weak link is for this Panthers outfit, but there aren't too many of them, frankly. So that's where the Panthers get this done.
Yeah, and it's just, again, like you said, it's just Cleary, Luai to O. Like, just they're going to score points to O. Of course, has scored the first try in both of the finals as well. So punter's looking to charge in for an early bet there. He's what is he? As my screen goes a bit wonky, as always, he's $8 to score that first try on Sunday night. So want to lean in there. And then I suppose the try scores for Penrith, I mean, they've got across the park, it's any number of tries that can be scored. So really, if you had to dial it down to one Penrith Panther player who, gun to your head, you need to have a bet on someone to score, who is it and why?
I mean, the gun to your head bet is Brian To'o, but I always try to look for a little bit of value on the way way through as well. I was all over Dylan Edwards last week, but I don't think this game plays out quite the same way. As I've mentioned, I think this one's a lot tighter. That arm wrestle through the middle is going to be a lot closer, and that's just going to create less opportunities for Dylan Edwards to score points. So the obvious money is out wide in this game. I think that Penrith left edge is going to prove to be just as potent as it's right. So I'm taking the value. I think Sunia Taruva is the better play just from an anytime standpoint.
$35 currently with Ladbrokes.
You've got Brian To'o at $1.92 anytime. Taruva's $2.35. I think he's just as much of a chance as To'o to score in this game. And when you're assessing the first try scorer markets, as we've mentioned, To'o's at $8, Taruva's at $10.50. There's just that bit of extra value there. I assumed that Tungo was going to come back into the team and play left centre with Crichton moving back to the right. But if Crichton's going to play on the left side, with Jerome Luai now 9 days, 9 days more in the green after that shoulder injury in round 26. There's enough. There's enough attacking weaponry on the Panthers' left edge for them to create some chances out wide.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's move across to the Brisbane Broncos, of course, one of the better teams all year. They are 11-1 on the road this year, which is an absolutely phenomenal record coming into a grand final. They've covered in their last 6 away games, and the last 4 times they've been an underdog this year, they've won. So the $2.50 that's currently available could be nice and enticing to a few punters. This team's full of excitement machines that could, on the big stage, either freeze up or absolutely explode. So there's only 2 ways of looking at it. It's they come out and just absolutely let the boys play and they have fun, or they freeze up and the experienced Panthers get it done. So aside from Reece Walsh absolutely going psycho and showing everyone why he should be worth $1 million a season, Adam Reynolds probably, as you said, leads the line there. He's the old head who's going to lead them all around there. But it just looks everything else with players like Jesse Arthur and Ezra Mam, and then even Jim's favourite, Katoni Staggs.
Yeah, I will get into it, but I've got belief that this Broncos team can win. I'm not just saying that because you're telling me to lay out the case why they can. I was never in the debating team back at high school. I genuinely think that they can win this game. You look at some of the matchups in the forwards just quickly. Yeah. Who's the best prop in the world right now? There's probably a 2 or 3 names that are in the chat. Yeah. Payne Haas is one of them.
James Fisher Harris in a row have said that.
James Fisher Harris was excellent last week against the Roosters. The commentators were just having, they were talking themselves into knots over James Fisher Harris coming back onto the field for his second stint. At least the 9 coverage was, but Payne Haas is the best prop in the world. Pat Carrigan, I believe he's the best lock in the world. Isaiah Yeo's not far behind him, and Isaiah Yeo's more of a, some of the parts around him player in the way that he links up with his halves. But Pat Carrigan, he's the best lock in the world for mine. So, there's 2 big wins. I was fortunate enough to see the Broncos play live earlier this year, and my probably key takeaway was just I couldn't believe the impact that Carrigan has on that team as far as their go forward and their arm wrestle is concerned. He just blew me away, Pat Carrigan, frankly. You look at the hooker battle. Billy Walters, a bit of a no-name aside from the fact that he's the son of the coach, but he was the best player on the field against the Warriors last week in a preliminary final. It was unbelievable. And you look at the matchup of the Nines. The Panthers don't have Api Coruscant this year. They're playing relatively just a role player at 9 as well, in Mitch Kenny, and they've got Jack Cogger coming off the bench, a no frills player as well. So, give me Billy Walters in the battle of the Nines for this one.
Didn't think I'd hear that.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'll give, as far as edge forwards go, I will admit that I think Liam Martin's the best edge forward playing in this game, but I'm a big Jordan Ricky fan. I just think that on paper you sort of match up each of these forward packs, and I can see Brisbane absolutely holding their own in that battle through the middle. I think that's why this game comfortably lands under the over-under points total. Both of these sides are just going to show resilience. They're going to rally, and they're going to show that sort of effort that we expect in cover, defending their own try lines. So look, I think Brisbane absolutely hold their own. They keep it close. They keep this one tight, but they've obviously got the weaponry and the playmakers. It comes down, as the point you made, obviously, is whether or not we see some of these younger players freeze up in the big moment. But I probably don't see that happening. I could obviously be proven wrong, but I feel like they're probably the side that comes into this game feeling like there's a little less to lose. And Reece Walsh just has way too much confidence in his own ability for this moment to get to him. He absolutely shone in the Origin arena, outside of losing his cool with Jerome Luai at one point in the Origin arena. But yeah, I think he relishes the big game. I think Ezra Mann relishes the big game. He's been an underrated player for multiple seasons now. And yeah, I think he shines in this moment as well.
Give us a look at who you think sort of is going to score the points there for the Broncos on Sunday night if they're to win. Sort of a first try scorer or just an anytime try scorer. We're talking about this being tight, so maybe it's like we're leaning to an anytime try scorer. Is it a Stags? Is it a Cobbo? Where are we going?
Well, yeah, look, it's Wednesday in most parts of the world. We're still sort of 5 days out from the game.
Yeah,
and I think we just need to add the caveat that if Herbie Farnworth has in fact detailed that he has hamstring tightness, he has to be a chance of not playing in this game.
Yep.
And on top of that, you've got Corey Oates lurking as 18th man. I'm not sure where his fitness is at, but if he's listed at 18th man, yeah. I'm also not ruling out the possibility that Jesse Arthurs, the left winger for the Broncos, doesn't actually play in this game.
Ooh.
If Corey Oates comes in.
Okay.
Corey Oates is obviously their first choice left winger. It all depends on his fitness, and I would love an update on that. I don't have one. So I'm gun shy at backing try scorers on this Broncos left edge full stop. Unless their name's Ezra Mann, who obviously plays 3 in from the wing, and Reece Walsh out the back. So I'm holding fire on those bets. I'm sorry, we just can't. I don't think it's right to go into any detail. Whoever plays left wing for the Broncos is obviously going to be a great shout. Jesse Arthurs scored his try last week. I don't rate Brian To'o as this great wall down defending down his right edge necessarily. Tries can get scored on that Panthers right edge. It's just a matter of what the personnel look like on Sunday evening from the Broncos' perspective. That said, I think I know Reece Walsh sort of can do it on both edges, but I think Reece Walsh is even more potent running down the Broncos' right edge anyway. And I think Selwyn Cobbo's an excellent shout as a first try scorer at $10.50 in this game, and also as an anytime option at $2.35. He's sort of level pecking with Sunia Taruva on the second line behind Brian To'o as an anytime try scoring option. Yep. So, yeah, look, I think like just in general, when you're sort of expecting a much tighter arm wrestle style game, I think both of these teams are going to, make their opponents score tries out wide and not let any soft action happen back on the inside. So, yeah, that's why I think this game finishes reasonably low scoring, but most of the tries, if they are scored, they will be scored out wide.
Okay. You'll have to check out Phil's write-up on codebet.com.au for all of that to get the gear as we get closer towards game time. All right, Phil. Who wins? Why? Give us your Clive Churchill medalist as well.
Yeah, so after all of the above, I sort of mentioned, I mentioned earlier on in the thing, I think round one is the most telling data point that we have heading into this game. And I think the Broncos have proven over the course of this season that they are more than capable of winning this game of footy. And I'm tipping the Broncos to win it.
There we go.
I've sort of been angling towards that for a number of weeks now. So maybe it's those biases starting to emerge here. Just wanting something slightly more interesting than another Panthers premiership win. You guys are going to have to figure out for yourselves whether or not I'm bringing any biases to the fore here. But I think the Broncos have the better forward pack when you look at it just on paper. I think that there are a lot of critics out there that still don't believe that Nathan Cleary is a big game player. I'm not one of those people. But
he's not a state of origin player. He's a very good premiership player.
Yeah. If you're going to look at it like that, I think the inclusion of Adam Reynolds probably cancels out sort of the 7-on-7 matchup. And I'm a huge Ezra Mam fan. And, there's still fitness uncertainty as far as Jerome Luai is concerned. Yep. So I think this one lands unders, obviously, and the Broncos can grind out a tight win, 16-14. That's my my scoreline result. And as far as Clive Churchill is concerned, Reece Walsh is the Broncos' shortest paying player. I hope the NRL never, ever again pick a Clive Churchill medal winner from the losing team. It's not fair on it's not fair on the players. I think it's a cop-out. I don't think any fan deserves that kind of BS. So if I think the Broncos...
what's going to happen this weekend now, right?
Yeah. If I'm tipping the Broncos, obviously I'm tipping a Broncos play to win Clive. Yeah. Reece Walsh is a good shout at $6.50, obviously. I'm going to go hunting for a little bit more value. And I think in these kinds of big games, you're looking for a player that has those 2 or 3 big moments in the game. Yeah. It's not necessarily the bloke that has 40 tackles and runs for 100 meters. It's maybe if a forward wins it, he scores a try and he pokes his line through a couple of times. He makes some ridiculous cover tackle. You have to have those 2 or 3 huge moments in a grand final to win Clive Churchill. So if it was to be a Panthers victory, I think Liam Martin would be excellent value at $19 to maybe score a try on the Panthers' right edge, kind of in that Luke Lewis mold of the 2016 final where we saw him win it for the Sharks. I think Liam Martin has the game to produce at $19 if the Panthers are to win one, and the voters are going to look anywhere else other than Nathan Cleary. But if it is for the Broncos, I don't think it's Adam Reynolds, because I think he just kind of plays that sort of really steady hand, steering the team around the park, kicking to the corners. It has to be someone else that gives you said moments in the game. I really like Ezra Mam at $23. He scores tries, he sets them up, he makes breaks, he puts on huge shots in defense. I think he's got the game to sort of stand up and sort of stand out as far as a match winner goes. So I love him at $23 on Ladbrokes. And if you're hunting for even more value, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that you've got guys like Moses Leota and Spencer Leniu paying $51 to win Clive Churchill. Leniu's a rotational coming off the bench front rower for the Panthers. And then you keep scrolling down the page and you've got Selwyn Cobbo at 101 to win it. He could easily score all 3 of the Broncos' tries in this game down that right edge, run for over 200 meters, make 3 line breaks, maybe set one up on the inside as well for Reece Walsh, whether it's 5 meters forward or not. That just makes absolutely no sense to me. Yeah. So the long shot is Selwyn Cobbo at 100-1, but my tip for Clive is Ezra Mam.
Okay, I like it. Well, we've got yours. We need to go to this for me. Rate my multi. Shout out to Jim. So I'm with the Penrith Panthers to win by 1 to 12 points. Brian To'o to score a try, and under 37.5 match points. That comes in at $6.60 with Ladbrokes. Not a lot of value there, but a little something there. If you like the unders, I like To'o to score, and we don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think that's the easiest lean for me. And as lame as it sounds, I think Cleary will win the Clive Churchill medal if the Panthers win, which is very, very boring.
So what's the multi? Sorry, exactly.
So the multi is Panthers 1-12, To'o to score anytime, and under 37.5 points for the match.
Yeah, again, all very plausible. I think the punting algorithm is going to know that as well. What's that paying?
Yeah. $6.60.
Yeah. I'm rating it a 5 because I don't think that's how the result pans out. And I think you've been nailed by the punting algorithm there. Don't love the value, but it's a very plausible outcome. I will say that. Now, my multi, I'm keeping this one relatively simple as well. Yep. It's Broncos 1-12, and it's under the 38.5. And it's paying $4.80. I'm not getting on any specific try scorers because I'm still unsure of what's happening on that left edge as we're still 5 days out from kickoff. But yeah, if I'm getting close to $5 on that outcome, because I think if the Broncos win, I think if either of these teams win, it's staying close and it's staying under the 37.5. So, rather than sort of just taking the $2.50 on a Broncos win, it's going to land under, and it's going to land in that 1-12 range. So $4.80.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You can back the Panthers straight out and the under at $3 as well. So if you just don't want to mess around and you think either team's going to win and it's unders, well, you can bet there and you're going to get a positive result if we do hit the unders as well. So I don't mind it whatsoever. So I'll give it a 6.5. Obviously, I'm with Penrith as well. But Phil, that is the NRL Grand Final done and dusted. We've also got the NRLW on. The Newcastle Knights are $1.50. The Gold Coast Titans are $2.55. Knights are going for back-to-back premiership wins. They look pretty hard to beat once again.
Yeah, they certainly do. And it's interesting that we finally get to see a Gold Coast Titans team in a rugby league grand final in Australia. Right. It only took, about 16 years of existence. I think we go back to 2007. Yeah. The Titans have barely fired a shot. There was 1 year maybe in about 2009 where they looked interesting, and that's been about it. Yeah. But yeah, look, the Knights are deserving favourites for this one at $1.50, as you mentioned. They've got both Southwell sisters playing this time around. Obviously, Hannah missed last year's final through injury, so that was kind of the hard luck story of last ye's. You've got Jessie, a year older, who's obviously just an absolute superstar, Newcastle number 7, who's kind of taken the reins as that Newcastle Knights number 7, taking over from Joey Johns, of course, made famous by the one and only immortal Joey. But the Titans were able to keep the Roosters scoreless last week, which was kind of shocking. Fascinating. That's a Roosters lineup with Millie Boyle giving them go forward and Isabel Kelly, who's an absolute superstar at left centre. So the Titans did particularly well there. I think the Titans can score a few points in this one. Their fullback, Ivania Polite, she's got some incredible ball playing capabilities. Go back and watch the highlights from that game. Her pass out onto the wing was super strong to Destiny Mino Sinapati. So I think there's some points on that left wing for the Titans. Destiny's paying $3.50 as an anytime try scoring option. But yeah, I think the Knights get home in this one. I don't have a huge lean whether or not we hit the over-under in this game, but Tamika Upton's a really nice first try scorer bet at $8.75. She's one of the superstars, of course, in this Newcastle Knights outfit, playing fullback for them. But yeah, look, I think that the Titans can keep this one close. They obviously proved their defensive chops last week, but the Knights get home for Hannah Southwell playing as the starting lock in this game for Newcastle, and yeah, they've just got too many superstars.
Yep. I like it. Yeah, I think the Knights get the job done once again and they go back to back. But do we need to talk about the New South Wales Cup, or it doesn't matter because the Bears aren't playing, given that it's $1.25 for South Sydney taking on the Brisbane Tigers, which seems really weird.
Yeah, we don't care about this game because the North Sydney Bears aren't in it. But I suppose it is somewhat interesting that we've got Brisbane in the NRL Grand Final, Brisbane in the AFL Grand Final, and Brisbane in this game as well, of course, the Brisbane Tigers.
And the Gold Coast Titans in the NRLW, and Gold Coast Suns won the VFL last week. So big week for Queensland at the moment. But Phil, that is the NRL show done and dusted for this season. Hopefully we can go out on a winner. Well, the show's guaranteed a winner because we've tipped opposite teams. So we're laughing. Either way,
no.
Thank you so much.
This game could hit the overs, and then we're both just royally screwed.
We're screwed if it hits the overs. But, mate, thank you for everything you've done this year. You have done it from Poland. You've come for a live stream. It's been an absolutely awesome year. We'll rev up even bigger and better in 2024. We'll probably even get you in for like an EPL show or something when Stats Guy goes away once again because, it's what Stats Guy does.
Well, yeah, now that I am actually a regular contributor for the Albion Obsessed podcast, I'll have you know. Yeah, you might have to get me on when Brighton are in some big games later this year, whether it's Europe or an FA Cup final.
Yeah, we'll get you in for sure. But that is CODE Bet Daily NRL done and dusted this week. Check out all of our stuff on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Threads. Bunch of fun stuff going up on the socials at the moment. We're having a bunch of fun with it. But Phil, thanks again, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure right throughout the year. I hope plenty of punters have been clicking back regularly and enjoying our predictions. We didn't get them all right, of course, but at least we try to justify ourselves with some dignity.
Yeah, that's it. Speaking of that, punters, may all your picks come in, and also make sure you gamble responsibly. It is a massive weekend of punting coming up across all the different sports and the codes. But for now, CODE Bet Daily out.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.